Welcome to AI in 8 minutes or less, your daily AI update. Today, we're unpacking a massive shift happening right now in the tech space. Look, ever since tools like Claude and OpenClaw hit the scene, the whole AI agent narrative hasn't just gained traction, it has completely exploded into the mainstream. Suddenly, folks with absolutely zero technical background are deploying AI agents to write code and solve complex problems. We're looking at a truly pivotal moment here, where decentralized AI networks are stepping right up to potentially challenge the global tech giants on their own turf.
Okay, let's dive into this. Can an open source network actually replace 50 million human coders? That is the wild, incredibly ambitious question an underdog named Ridges is trying to answer. They operate a subnet 62 on the Bittensor network. Led by their tech lead, Cameron Fairchild, they're building AI software engineers designed to just take over coding tasks from 0 to 1. In a landscape completely dominated by multi-billion-dollar corporate labs, this decentralized subnet is making a really serious play to fundamentally transform how software gets built around the world. To actually deliver this complex tech, we have to talk about Ridgeline. Now, you shouldn't just think of Ridgeline as another piece of software. You've got to view it as a brand new decentralized team member. Instead of acting like a typical chatbot where you're constantly going back and forth prompting it, Ridgeline is designed to take real initiative. You hand it a task, and it just goes off and tackles your coding projects completely in the background, freeing you up to focus on all your other high-level work. So what does a day in the life actually look like with this? Well, the process is super streamlined. First, you just create a standard GitHub issue. Second, the agent reads that task and uses its own intelligence to chip away at it over time, entirely in the background. And third, it kicks out a pull request for you to review. This long-form, initiative-taking approach perfectly complements those super-fast IDE-based agents we're already used to. And look, while right now you do need to know your way around GitHub, their ultimate goal is to smooth out this experience so much that entirely non-technical users can spin up these agents without breaking a sweat. The really crucial point here is how this underdog competes with massive corporate labs in a classic Goliath versus David scenario. On one side, you have big tech, right? Often weighed down by bloated corporate structures and heavily reliant on incredibly expensive, closed-off systems and proprietary GPUs. But on the flip side, the Bittensor approach is fundamentally different. We're talking about a collective group of agile, open-source miners who only get paid when they produce something genuinely valuable. Because it's an open network, Ridges literally forces its miners to constantly innovate on both cost and capability, instead of just coasting on endless corporate funding. Let's look exactly at how they manage to drive those costs into the floor. Ridges doesn't want to rely heavily on expensive, locked-in inference providers like Anthropic or OpenAI. Instead, they integrate with OpenRouter and directly tap into highly efficient Bittensor subnets like Chutes and Targon. The entire purpose of these specific subnets is to make commodity inference incredibly cheap. By leveraging this decentralized ecosystem, Ridges gets the absolute best possible deal on computing power, which lets them pass those massive savings directly onto you, the end user. And this brilliantly illustrates the core philosophy driving all of this rapid innovation. As Cameron Fairchild puts it, a subnet is an open competition. Right now, Ridges is going through a massive refactoring process. They're moving away from a simple setup where miners just submitted a single Python script, and they're expanding into a much more complex, abstract framework. The beauty of this is that they aren't forcing any one single solution on their developers. Instead, they're empowering miners to freely innovate on multiple axes to build way more complex and capable modern agents. But that naturally leads us to a massive elephant in the room that the entire AI industry is wrestling with right now. How do we actually know these AI agents are smart? I mean, it's one thing to claim you have a highly capable coding agent, but proving it to a global marketplace, especially an open source one where literally anyone can submit a model, requires a totally bulletproof system of testing and benchmarking. This brings us right to a major pitfall in machine learning called overfitting. Overfitting happens when an AI specializes its capabilities for the sole purpose of scoring high on a specific static benchmark. Cameron Fairchild uses a perfect analogy for this. It's exactly like a student getting to see a school test before they actually take it. Sure, they're going to ace the test, but it absolutely does not prove they truly understand the material or have any real-world capability. To solve this overfitting problem, Ridges is totally changing the game. They're throwing out those traditional static SWE bench tests that models can so easily cheat on. Instead, they're implementing dynamic, real-world benchmarks.
What this means in practice is that ridges will constantly scrape brand new, real-world problems straight from GitHub and other live sources. Miners won't be able to see these specific problems beforehand. Their agents are going to be run against fresh, unexpected tasks, giving a completely fair, direct measure of how good they actually are in the real-world settings that clients will use them in.
Of course, for any decentralized network to survive long-term, the economics have to be rock solid. Their path to self-sustaining revenue leans heavily on a recent Bittensor update called Tau flow, meaning rewards are now based on the actual inflow and outflow of capital to a subnet. To secure consistent network revenue, Ridges is amortizing costs across users through Ridgeline subscription models and integrating with permissionless systems like X42 and Handshake. This setup allows them to seamlessly resell tokens and charge a markup per job, effectively turning the subnet into a true self-sustaining business.
Now, as this whole ecosystem matures, it's inevitably having to deal with growing pains and security concerns, which brings us to a really fascinating concept, the conviction lock. Following some unfortunate events with other subnets in the ecosystem, there's a strong push to incentivize builders to have real skin in the game. A conviction lock allows subnet owners to lock up their staked tokens for an extended period. Now, it's a bit controversial because it limits liquidity, but it powerfully proves long-term commitment. It even allows everyday token holders to delegate their conviction, which gives them a direct say in the network's future.
Let's zoom out for just a second to look at the bigger picture. Where does Ridges and the entire Bittensor ecosystem actually sit within the broader decentralized AI landscape over the next few years? Because what we're witnessing here isn't just one subnet trying to write some code, it's a massive, interconnected web of open source projects that are beginning to compound on one another's successes. Recent milestones across the ecosystem prove this is already happening in a big way. Just recently, we saw Templars successfully train a 72 billion parameter model directly over the internet, proving decentralized training actually works and catching the attention of major players like Anthropic. Then we see Subnet 5 quickly iterating on that exact research. And right now, we're seeing Subnet 3 being completely revitalized by its creator, Jake. The sheer power of open source means anyone can audit, contribute to, and build upon these breakthroughs at absolute lightning speed. And that rapid compounding leads us to a jaw-dropping goal, 1 trillion. Yes, you heard that right, 1 trillion parameters. With Subnet 3 aiming for a run of this size, this isn't just science fiction anymore. Cameron Fairchild emphasizes that because Bittensor so deeply incentivizes this open source participation, having intelligent decentralized teams pulling off a model of this massive magnitude is entirely within the realm of possibility in the very near future. They are literally pushing the boundaries of what anyone thought decentralized AI could actually do. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What actually happens when incentivized, open-source communities fully overtake the massive, closed corporate labs? When anyone in the world can tap into a decentralized agent that outcodes the most expensive proprietary software, the entire tech landscape shifts permanently. And we are watching that foundation being built right now. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to AI in 8 minutes and never miss what matters.